Hello again, this is Douglas Lucky Larson on the Retire Early and Often channel. And as you know, if you've been following my channel, we talk about how to retire early and often. And we try not to get too political. However, there's a lot of political things going on that are trying to make your life a lot more difficult, a lot more miserable than they already have. Usually when government steps in, they just make things worse. And when you're trying to just take care of your family and live a little better, you don't need somebody else putting up roadblocks and speed bumps and big barriers for you. And that's exactly what's been going on, probably for the last 6-7 decades. But we've seen a lot of real big problems come to a head in the last couple of years. And again, the government is stepping in to try to help. But if they say, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, you should run the other way, or at least know what's happening so that you can get out of the way. Now, you can see behind me, if you can see this beautiful scenery, I am still in Florida. I was at a conference this last weekend, the Rebel Capitalist Live event with George Gammon. Now I'm up in North Florida. I've got a couple brothers that have been purchasing real estate up here. I came up here to check out the prospects for myself because I love real estate. Income producing, bread and butter, rental real estate, single family homes. So anyway, but we're up here, what is this near? Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, some beautiful spots. Went surfing earlier today and I'll probably go again a little bit later. Anyway, let's go to the next slide and we'll talk about a recent article that shows Governor Gavin Newsom on the other coast from Florida, and I actually have some property in San Diego, so what he does affects me directly over there. Something recent he's come out with and some of the pushback from leading economists. I'm going to zoom in here on this actual story. This came out recently, Tuesday, June 28. So let's read some of these lines here. Experts warn that California's inflation relief, and they've got that in quotes, could actually send high prices even higher. Well, duh. The inflation relief package, championed by Governor Gavin Newsom and Democratic legislative leaders, could have the opposite effect, pushing inflation even higher. Now, at its highest level basically in 40 years, it could go even higher, top economists say. One-off tax holidays or rebates which put more money in people's pockets without doing anything to boost supply, there is the key, are inflationary, said Jarek Walczak, Vice President of State Projects of the Tax Foundation, a Washington-based research group. I'm surprised that anybody has a brain at all in Washington these days. But dang, that guy nailed it. So here's the thing. If you've got a finite supply of something and you just give people more money to buy the same amount of stuff, what do you think will happen? It does not take a genius. It does not take a Mensa genius to figure out what will happen. The people who suddenly have a little bit more money will bid the price up because everybody needs those goods and or services. Duh. All right, now, it may not be as inflationary as thought because it's really not that much money coming from California, and it's not imminent, but let's take a closer look. Governor Newsom and Democratic legislative leaders have agreed on a $17 billion relief package. That includes $9.5 billion in inflation relief funds, an estimated $17.5 million that California taxpayers will receive, and each person is going to get, between $200 and $1,050 by early next year. So you got 40 million people in California, and they got a $17 billion relief package. But you divide that up, and of course bureaucrats are going to take their share all along the way, and Californians will get between $200 and $1,000 by early next year. Hey, we're just barely into July. Early next year, that's 6 months away. Is that really going to make any difference at all with the people who need it? No, it will not. It is window dressing. It is frosting on the cake. No, it's a double layer of frosting on the cake. It's just stupid. All right. The Bee contacted economists familiar with California, and all but one saw the plan as having the possibility of adding to inflation. So all the sensible people they talked to at the Sacramento Bee, they all but one said, you know what? This probably won't help. And when the money does come out, it's just going to add to the problem. California is already doing some gas price relief where they're giving people money. It's a few $100 per month or something. And again, all that's happening is gas prices continue to go higher. And many gas stations know, hey, everybody's got a little bit more money to spend. I think we can probably charge an extra nickel per gallon. Duh. Let's go on to the next page. While we appreciate the academic arguments over what incremental effect this might have in the long term, Californians are dealing directly with real-time price spikes fueled by inflation and how it's squeezing their day-to-day budgets. In other words, we're the government, and we've got to do something for the people, for the children. Listen to us. Let's just spend money. Among the evidence he cited, as of last month, 15% of California renters were behind on their payments. Now, as a landlord in California, of course, that makes me a little bit nervous. But thankfully, I've got great tenants, and they are still paying. Many said they were very or somewhat likely to leave their homes due to eviction. Yikes. I really feel for those landlords and those people that have to leave. That is not fun. Nobody wins in eviction. Why are prices up so much? Yeah, well, we'll see if they get this right. Newsom and legislative leaders called their plan an inflation relief package. Nationally, prices jumped 8.6%. That was the official CPI. Most of us know, it's a little higher than that, especially boots on the ground at the bottom. You're feeling more than an 8.6% jump in your own personal CPI in the 12 months ending in May. Increases in California averaged an annualized rate of 9.2 this spring. According to the UCLA Anderson School of Management analysis, several factors drove the spike. Russian-Ukraine war, yeah, I know, it's all Russia's fault every time, has tightened oil supplies. Consumer demand has increased as people travel more now that the COVID pandemic has eased, and supplies of many items have remained tight as producers struggle to meet suddenly increased demand. Food prices have gone up 10.1% in the past year. Car prices, well, if you're really broke, you ain't buying a new car. Airfares rose by just 12.6% in May. I did feel that on this latest trip to Miami and then flying back up to Orlando area. I'll be flying back out to the west here in just a couple days. But yeah, ticket prices are up. Federal Reserve Board is scrambling to weaken demand by raising interest rate. It increased the key rate by, yeah, you know all about that. Interest rates are definitely going up. But let's drop down here too. But putting more money into circulation as the California agreement gives people more to spend could reduce incentives to keep prices stable. Now, again, they're always trying to blame corporate greed for prices rising. And, let's face it, whether you're a landlord, which I am, or you're any kind of a business owner, whether it's a gas station or Amazon, you've got higher prices, you've got higher wages, and you need to then bump up your prices for things so that you can afford to stay in business and still make your profits and make your shareholders happy or pay your own expenses. Again, it's this circular thing, this price wage spiral that they always talk about. If you just throw money back into it without it being a little more targeted or careful or something, you're going to have some problems. Now, that doesn't mean you should go out and do wage controls and price controls. The free market should be able to take care of itself. But sadly, we just do not have a true free market. We have a lot of meddling. It will add to demand and stoke inflation. Stoke, I would say, not stroke. Said Sung Wong Son, president of Los Angeles-based SS Economics. Experts at Moody's Analytics cited an analogy of federal gas tax holiday, which President Joe Biden proposed last week. His plan is going nowhere in Congress. When inflation is as high as it is today, the federal government's priority should be to do no harm. First, isn't that what doctors say? First, do no harm. A gas tax holiday does not pass this test. A suspension of the federal gas tax risks boosting gasoline demand at the time when supply is constrained, thereby leading to higher pump prices and adding to inflation. And that's usually how it goes. A government intervenes not knowing the domino effects, the knock-on effects downstream, and then they wonder, what happened? I always remember this great example that maybe many of us have heard or remember from history. You've got Mao Zedong in China in the 1950s, and they were trying to make the great leap forward and bring their populations out of poverty and, you know, all kinds of great things they were trying to do. And there were so many bad governmental decisions that were not based on market forces, and the ripple effects were just tragic. Famine and hunger and starvation. Millions of people, somewhere between 30 and 60 million people died because of Mao. One of the examples was they found out that birds, these poor innocent little sparrows, were eating crops, fruit from trees and grain from their harvest. And they said, let's just kill all the birds. Well, in the following years, they had a bug infestation that would rival Egypt in the Old Testament days with their famines. And literally, the bugs just devoured everything, and people had nothing. Then the government said, we need higher quotas. That's what we need. And they started giving rewards to all these individual communities for boosting and making their quotas. And a lot of people started bragging and lying about how much they were really bringing in, and they got pats on the back from Chairman Mao. But guess what? Because they were lying, they didn't really have that much grain. And when the government came to collect the taxes on the false amount, they ended up taking 70, 80, 90% of what the people had. And so more starvation. Thanks for the pat on the back. Now we're starving. Can we maybe have some of that back? No, you cannot. Oh, government intervention. Gotta love it. Here's another little piece of this article. With states sitting on large surpluses while consumers struggle under the burden of high inflation, the political appeal of rebate checks and tax holidays is understandable. So government sitting on surpluses, well, here's the thing. They are not sitting on surpluses of what people really need. The government does not have housing for you. The government does not have oil for you. The government does not have food for you. The government has your money that you paid in taxes. You overpaid in taxes because your assets went up, or it looks like your paycheck went up. You used to work at Burger King for $10 an hour, and now you make 15. Woohoo! Thank you. We'll take some of that in taxes. You used to work as a middle-level manager at some company, ABC company, and you were making, let's say $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. Now you make $100,000, but you're paying more in everything, including taxes. And guess what? The government has their hand out and they take it from you. They are sitting on large surpluses of money, and all they're saying is, yeah, we can give it back to the little people. But again, what happens? It drives prices up. Here's a view that's a little more tempered. Hannah Gabriel. She says, if the rebate is spent on gasoline or other consumable goods that are experiencing high inflation driven by supply costs, then the rebates will likely increase the prices of those goods, leading to more inflation. But, she said, that's not automatic. Well, she does concede that she can see how this could actually bring more inflation. Duh. She says, it depends on how the money is used. History shows that many households have spent one-time stimulus payments either on fixed costs, such as rent or mortgages, or save the money. Yeah, they were doing that last year to a degree. And some of them were putting the money aside or spending it on, doggy coins or some other Reddit street bets. Maybe they were buying GameStop. Well, how well has that worked out now? That was a wealth transfer to the people at the top, and now all the people toward the bottom don't have that money anymore, and they need it to spend on gasoline or rent. Anyway, inflation generally runs higher in the West than nationwide, which means the cost of living is higher. There is therefore a rationale for rebates on the part of the governor and the legislator to help people pay for gasoline and other items. Hey, I'm all for the government giving people back their own money, right? But the way the government usually intervenes is in such a way that it ends up making it worse. And that is the bottom line. Let's go to the next slide and let me ask you for something. First, like, subscribe, and share, because I appreciate you sharing this information with other people so that we can grow our channel and our reach. Also, I always like to give you a little something that you can do, whether you're in California or anywhere else. First, watch for government intervention and try to get out of the way of the steamroller that is coming. What is that steamroller? It is likely more intervention and higher prices. And sadly, the government is probably going to do the things that did not work out many decades ago when they said, it's those greedy capitalists. We're going to give money to the common man, but we've got to make sure that it doesn't just make it into the pockets of those greedy capitalists. Those are business owners, and business owners do need to make a profit. And if the federal government then comes back with their 1-2 punch, and the number 2 punch, that left hook you weren't watching for, is price controls, wage controls, then rent controls, mortgage moratoriums, and those kinds of interventions, then I tell you what's going to happen. Builders will not build. There will continue to be a housing shortage. Landlords will not rent. They might turn their property into an Airbnb just because it's less of a hassle than trying to, argue and fight with a renter. They might even just take property out of circulation. If landlords are as rich and wealthy as people sometimes seem to think, those landlords might just say, it ain't worth it having people in my property that aren't going to pay me and are still going to use and abuse and wear out my property. I'm just not going to rent it. That kind of thing does happen when the government intervenes, and that will not help. Let the free market do its thing, cut the red tape, get bureaucracy out of the way, support the people who are really trying to make things and offer goods and services and housing. And I promise things, we might actually get a softer landing, but the more the government intervenes, the worse it's likely to get. Those are my thoughts, and I hope it's been helpful. Hope to see you on the next video.